Blighttown is one of the most infamous locations in From Software's game catalog. There's plenty to dislike about it, but there's so much charm to be found in this disgusting little corner of the game. I really love the enemy's visual design in this area. These ghoulish gooners wield a variety of weapons, including corpses. And they even come in the Barrel Boy variety. They work really well alongside these giant barbarians who look like they eat more than enough, while the ghouls look like they seem to be just barely scraping by. The blow dart snipers are the worst creature of this area. They shoot faster than you can throw projectiles, and shields can barely prevent the status effect from taking over. So the only real foolproof plan that really works is serpentining. This is easier said than done, with most of these blow dart snipers being positioned in precarious and tight spaces. Overall, an incredibly obnoxious experience, but at least they don't respawn. The best part about the blow dart snipers is their mortality. Oddly enough, I find these flamethrower dogs to be a lot less annoying than the standard lower berg dogs. And, they have their own unique charm to them. Now I can talk about what I really love about this area, its layout. So much of Blighttown is held up by these rickety wooden support beams. It being situated under the depths means that these people here are getting the waste of the sewers as their food supply. It's a far cry from the depths, though. Sure, the depths are filthy, but it's a controlled mess. Blighttown is a stain surrounding these monolithic walls and drains, and it serves as a horrifying reminder of how this hierarchy has abandoned its people. Its infrastructure juts out like an infection. It sticks to the shadows like a fungus. This makes for a really interesting level to navigate, and since on later playthroughs I usually take the other entrance, I still find myself disoriented by this area going through it once again. There are so many little nooks, and it's incredibly satisfying getting some of these items. The level design still has a few problems though, that mainly being the geometry of some of these surfaces can be a bit off-putting, especially when trying to jump down to some of these spots. I don't have too much of an issue with it, especially in this example, since there is a different intended method of getting the item. I hate this thing. The noises it makes, the way it moves. Ugh. Its positioning suggests that it feeds off of the depth's waste, much like the rest of the Blighttown residents. Even killing it is uncomfortable for me. I do not like big bugs. The fact that it guards a pyromancy and also has the name Prince of Izalith in the game data has led many to believe it's linked to the demons in some way. Perhaps even being related to the Witch of Izalith herself, but was transformed into this thing we see now. This isn't the only horrific transformation we see in Blighttown. In the lower areas, these crag spiders don't look human at a glance, but upon looking at them closer, you can see the human head. They might be pyromancers, and that would explain why they spout fire from their bodies. Here at the bottom in this swamp is where a lot of people get their hatred for this area. Without this rusted iron ring, this area is a complete slog to move through, and the poison can be a slight annoyance, especially if you don't have any moss. There's also these mosquitoes, which are just as bad as their real-life counterparts. They are extra obnoxious because they are one of, if not the only enemy, that respawns in a cycle without the need of the player resetting the area. So there is no escape. Those people that designed those elaborate mosquito killers have the right idea. I remember being really impressed with myself when I fought Mildred because she was my first invasion and I thought she was an actual person. Since she is most people's first experience with an invasion, I wonder if anyone else had a similar misunderstanding. These guys at the entrance of the boss arena have this very ominous chant to them. This character design also shows off the parasitic nature of the demons. A lot of demons are the joining of two living things made into one. Depending on how you read into this, it can be seen as a malicious parasite, but the fact that many people willingly join this process could mean that this is simply a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship. In fact, the boss of this area is a great example of that. Quelaag makes for an interesting fight. There is this great dynamic between her and her spider half. Part of her moveset is the more typical swordsman Dark Souls fight, with you needing well-timed dodges, while the other part of her moveset is more like those fights with beasts, spewing out projectiles, doing slams and jumps with massive area of effect. The sword attacks aren't particularly hard to dodge, but the visuals of the sword swings just make dodging the attacks feel so satisfying to me. The attacks done by her spider half are really well telegraphed, with her patting it on the head when it shoots out lava, or hugging it when it does a very large explosion attack. She has more health than the gargoyles, so beating her serves as a great achievement in the early part of the game. With the bell rung, the game will have a few changes coming our way, but before I cover that, there are a few things left in Blighttown that I want to investigate. I never had an issue with how they hide the Daughter of Chaos, because there is the message system, and I always felt like the walls stuck out just enough for most players to figure it out. The Fair Lady and Angie do a great job of humanizing the demons. Angie was banished from his home because of the pyromancies he created. When he came to this domain, a parasite latched onto him, and he was infected with a blight. The Fair Lady took that blight out of him and other followers, and this resulted in her getting sick instead. By using a ring that lets you understand the ancient language, it is revealed that Quelaag took humanity from trespassers to help her sister. This only slows down the process, but what's worse is that the sister believes us to be Quelaag due to her lack of vision. I'm not quite done with sad stories yet, because if we return to the swamp, we can meet Quelana. She is the missing daughter of the family from Izalith, and she had abandoned the place before a great tragedy. She is the founder of pyromancy used by humans. It's quite tragic that the woman behind the intimate culture of pyromancy is completely isolated from her family and society. I won't let this segment end on a complete downer, so here's this funny dog that is responsible for keeping this elevator operating. That might be pretty sad too.